Right. And what's it typically look like when these parents don't really know what to do? It seems like I've heard so many people say, well, they're just children. How can you possibly have your life ruined by a child? What does it look like with some of the families that you're working with? What can a 3-year-old do in a family?
Well, a 3-year-old, I've talked to parents all over the world about this, and there's a consistent symptom pattern that they have, and so I can answer their questions before they even finish, asking it, because I understand the symptoms of a child who, is superficially charming. They can be a 3-year-old and be really bright and go over to grandma's house and turn on the charm. It's control. They get what they want in that environment. And then at home, if mom tries to guide them or set directives, they'll, say no a lot, which a toddler does. And they'll rage. They'll rage to the point where it almost feels like they're going to die. And so a parent just gets exhausted around the control issues.
And how is that different from normal toddlerhood? Because toddlers will do that sometimes too. What's the difference between an attachment disordered child and a normal child in that phase?
Because of the quality of the relationship in the first year, where that child is bonded and attached to the mother and the father. So by the toddler stage, they still want their way, but they recover a lot quicker. They don't. I'll give you an example of my grandchildren when they were toddlers. One of my grandsons was pulling out grandma's flowers in the front yard, and just was having a ball. Yeah. And I went out there and set a limit. No, you can't do that. And he looked at me kind of startled that grandpa said no. And he got big tears, and that's hurting my heart when I watched that, but I had to allow him to sit in that for a while, and so he was crying and he felt bad. He felt healthy guilt and shame about what he was doing. And then I just scooped him up, held him close, loved him, said, I love you a lot, but you can't pull out grandma's flowers.
Right.
So because of the relationship he had, he was able to work through the limit setting because the relationship was strong enough that was more important to him than winning or being in control.
Right. Now, what would that look like if this was an attachment disordered child? So they're pulling out the flowers.
They wouldn't give up. They wouldn't stop. Okay. They would do it their way, or they would run away from the parent or not listen to the limit. And then they're pulling the flowers on the other side of the house.
And a lot of times the tears are not necessarily coming from the feeling of, oh, I've done something wrong and I got caught, and I feel that guilt that a little 3-year-old feels from pulling out grandma's flowers. Oh, I did something wrong and now grandpa's upset with me. I need to make this right.
Right.
They don't have that.
Right. They have what I call a shame core. They feel like a throwaway kid. They feel like they're not good enough. So when they get told no or restricted, to them it's that I am doing wrong, I am wrong. So they don't internalize healthy guilt and shame. They become shame-filled. And so they want to give it back to a parent. They want you to own it. They don't, because to them, love means you tell me yes all the time. You never set a limit.
So when they're giving it back, what does that look like? Obviously, it's I don't give up and I'm going to keep on with the behavior. But when mom or dad or grandma or grandpa takes them out of the situation, maybe they pick them up and move them, does it calm down?
Not with attachment disorder kids. They want to get back at you. They want to still get their way. So you might say, let's say a timeout, a simple timeout. You need to sit over here and have a timeout for now. They will move out of that position. They will do it a little different than how you want them to do it.
Right.
So they stay in control. And that's what makes people feel kind of crazy, is that they won't do the limit according to how I want them to. They always will do it different their way, or they twist it around.
And I think that you hit something, because it's not I think some of these kids can be very defiant, and you can tell. It's obvious that they're going, okay, you said do this, I'm going to do this. But other times it's very, very covert. It's manipulative and it's very underhanded, and it's hard to even catch what they're doing.
Right.
Because you may say, I want you to sit in that chair for 5 minutes or whatever it is, and they might sit on the floor with their back against the chair.
Correct.
And so they're saying, well, I'm doing what you said.
Right.
No, you're not doing what I said. But then you start to question yourself as a parent because, well, how much do I have to be rigid with this?
Well, and you start to wonder, how can a 3-year-old be that controlling, that subtly controlling?
Right.
And it's just crazy making with the mother figure. It's that I want especially to push mom away. So they end up treating moms in a more oppositional way than they do anybody else.
And we've talked about it before.